Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Audit and Administration Committee meeting for July 29, 2024 for the Rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Bowman, if you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Legislator Elner, Legislator Gouldman.
Present.
Chairman Castellano.
Present. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes for the May 23rd, 2024 meeting and the June 24th, 24 meeting. Unless there's any objections, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Item 4 is an FYI from the county auditor. 4A is the sales tax, and we have an additional, so I'll make a motion for the additional.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So we had some discussion last month about the recent tax break we gave and wondering how it was going to affect our collection of sales tax. We're right on target for the year, a little bit better than on target, which is great. But we also had a little bit of a give back, and I think Mike Lewis is ready to talk about it.
Sure. Let me just get that. So the good news is I was able to obtain some data to present to you guys. The only bad news is that it's still apples and oranges, believe it or not, because when I was working with the guy from Department of Taxation and Finance, he even admitted that it looked low, and he admitted that that there was some late filings and or missing schedules. So again, I still think it's still premature to really get the comparative. I'm hoping that in the next month or two that they'll do their reconciliations and the filers will file on time. What I can tell you though is that we in that period of March 24 through May 24, about $11 million was gross sales for clothing that was under $110, and a $435,000 tax break was given. So as you could see, if you look at the the March 23 through May 23 and March 23 through May 22, you'll see that it's in the $18 million mark. So I'm hoping to see in the next round that that'll go up to 18 million, maybe even more, because of the of the tax break. So just wanted to give you some preliminary numbers, but that's where we are right now.
It's a solid tax break to the people who are purchasing items here in Putnam, which is great. It's not only people that live in Putnam, but people who just shop in Putnam, which is good news. This again is under for clothing and footwear that's priced under $110, that's purchased in Putnam County, and at least preliminary, we have a savings to the taxpayers of $435,073.
And I anticipate that it'll be more.
It all sounds very good, and I'm glad we're on target for what we budgeted this year, so that all looks promising as well.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Legislator Gouldman?
You'd like to believe that it will be more, because
Of course.
you look at the last 4 years, been around, a little around $3,000. So, hopefully people will shop more in Putnam, and that number will be higher than, $3,000.
It definitely is, because we're trending. Like I said, these are raw data. Probably they still are going through their reconciliations, and but the state is the state, so it does take a while to get this data. So
This isn't the busy time of year for shopping anyway, as well. When September, August for school, and of course Christmas is around the corner. Legislator Nasarino?
Exactly what I was going to say. This is the period where back to school sneakers, clothing, ski jackets, and some things that cost a little bit more, maybe than summer clothing, and we'll probably see the bump up. I'm confident we will.
yes, I agree.
Legislator Sage?
Just as a note, I was reading the New York State Association of Counties sales tax report. And it's stuck in my head, and I'll just read it to you because I thought it was pretty interesting. It says, it's evident as we move further past COVID pandemic that its dramatic impact on consumer activity is that the annual sales tax growth is returning to pre-COVID levels. However, the transition is not without bumps. And that the first half for all counties in the state of New York, the first half of 2024 has dipped.
Of course, yeah.
So it says dramatically since 2023. So I think this is all across the state of New York. And they also said that some counties expect to even have less sales tax in 2025. So, it's something worth noting that sales tax income is decreasing in New York. And hopefully it'll level out and we'll get back up. But I think the big boom days of COVID and people sitting at home ordering things is over, and we're probably going to start to settle down. I mean, just according to what they said in the New York State, the NISAC sales tax report. I thought it was interesting.
I mean, I definitely think that people are going to still buy, you see the Amazon trucks. I think that's going to still, based on that Wayfair decision, but, with inflation, all these factors, inflation, unemployment, things like that. I mean, if you're unemployed, you're obviously not going to be fine. And
You hope not.
At least you think you're not. So, there's all different various factors. But again, we conservatively, even though we had gotten, $89 million last year, give or take, for the sales tax, we were still conservative with a modest, 3%, 4% increase. We're trending, we're definitely trending higher than what we year-to-date budget, so.
Which is always good. And definitely consumers shop differently now, I mean, whether it's COVID or just the simplicity of buying something online, and at least we're gaining those tax dollars right here in Putnam as opposed to going to Connecticut or Westchester.
Right.
Anyone else? Okay, again, that was just an FYI. Moving on to 4B is the born-in revenue report. Again, we're at the 6th month mark, halfway through the year. We're pretty much right on target for what is budgeted for the entire year. So, great work by the Sheriff's Department and the born-in revenue. Any questions or comments? Okay. 4C is the transfer revenue report. Of course, just an FYI, if anybody has any questions or comments. 4D is the 2024 contingency, sub-contingency report. We have no proposed deductions for this month. Questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to item number 5, correspondence from the Commissioner of Finance. Thank you again, Mr. Lewis, for attending tonight. As we move on to item 5A, is the overtime temporary report. Again, we're halfway through the year. Everything is always seasonal on this report anyway, but just gives you a good idea of where we're at for the year. Any questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to 5B. This is a proposed budgetary amendment for social services, reclassify revenue and expenses related to domestic terrorism prevention grant, also reviewed in health earlier this month.
Strictly just a bookkeeping to move it from one org to the other.
Okay. It's pretty straightforward, just zero fiscal impact, and it's just a bookkeeping issue to put everything in the right category. Questions or comments from anyone? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5C is the approval of budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department to reallocate ARPA funds to a boiler replacement and life safety. This was also reviewed in rules earlier this month. We're moving this money to a ready-to-go project for ARPA, so we don't lose this ARPA money, which is very important. We plan on backfilling the Sheriff's Department with other funding in the future on this one.
So just using the ARPA dollars versus from the capital plan using the taxation money.
Good.
So
we don't lose any ARPA funding, it's a ready-to-go project.
and then on this second page here, and third page, this was given to our ARPA consultant, and they went through on the recommended expenditure category. So this is all ARPA eligible.
Any questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 5D is the approval of budgetary amendment for finance, again, ARPA reallocation for the town of Phillipstown. This was also reviewed in rules earlier this month. Same issue, where we're going to reallocate this ARPA funding to a ready-to-go project. I know the town was on board with it as well last month, or earlier this month, I should say. No issues there, and we move forward and we make sure we don't waste this ARPA money. Anything I'm missing? Questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5E is the approval of a budgetary amendment for the district attorney's office, reclassification and salary increase to 2 positions, also reviewed in personnel earlier this month. This is state aid that's coming in through a criminal justice discovery reform grant for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, and we're going to take some money out of interest that was earned.
Correct. So that would be the local share. Because we're doing well with interest, instead of taking it out of contingency, we could take it out of the interest earnings.
That's great news, good stuff. Zero fiscal impact.
And they're using their reserve, if you recall, they had put money aside for one of their ADAs, but we're taking that money now and going to apply it to these 2 positions.
Got it. Okay, any questions or comments? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to item 5F is the approval of the budgetary amendment for Department of Social Services, projected expenses for 730 exams, court-ordered guardianships, and court-ordered placement in Office of Mental Health and Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. This was also reviewed in Health earlier this month. Again, we're going to use interest that we have to cover the expenses for this, in this amount of $309,609, zero fiscal impact.
This is very hard for them to, it could fluctuate. They can get 1, court order, they can get 5 court orders, and it's very pricey. It's about almost $1,400 a day. Just
Well, at least we're paying our bills and we don't have to borrow money to do so, which is always good. So it's a good thing for the taxpayers of Putnam. Any questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move this to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, 5G. This is approval of budgetary amendment for DPW insurance recoveries for the guardrail damages. Also reviewed in physical services, as we're getting good numbers, and thank you to Matt Bruno for all the work he's putting into this. This is an amount of $28,385.43 that will go towards all these projects that had to be repaired, the issues that we had on the guardrails in our road system. Zero fiscal impact, and again, thank you to Matt Bruno for the hard work on that. And anything else I could add to that?
he loves insurance.
He does.
Any questions or comments from any legislators? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5H is the approval of a budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department K-9 program and donations from Green Chimneys Children's Services Incorporated, located in the great town of Southeast. These guys do a great job up there in Green Chimneys, and we thank them for their donation for this K-9 patrol for the Sheriff's Department. Amount of $200. Can't thank them enough, but good stuff that we're using. Zero fiscal impact, of course. Any questions or comments? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5I is the approval of budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department overtime reimbursement from the New York State Stop DWI Foundation Incorporated, also reviewed in Protective Services earlier this month. It's an amount of $282.11 in overtime that the state is picking up the tab on. Zero fiscal impact. Incoming money.
That's it.
Questions or comments? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5J is the approval of budgetary amendment for finance the vacancy control factor, which we do from time to time over the course of the year. We're taking some unused money and correcting the books and putting it into the vacancy control factor. This time it's in the amount of $312,373. Zero fiscal impact, as we're just bringing this money back into the vacancy control factor. Yeah,
Usually do that pretty much this time.
this time.
Just one.
Any questions or comments from any of the legislators? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5K is the approval of budgetary amendment for DPW, Croton Falls Road Mud Pond Outlet Culvert Rehab Project using New York State DOT Bridge New York funds, also reviewed in physical services. This is state aid coming for this project, which is great news, of course, to us here. It's in the amount of $2,632,924, zero fiscal impact to the budget, incoming state aid. Hopefully it covers the entire cost of this project.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Okay, I'll make a motion to move this to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5L is the approval of budgetary amendment for DPW to adjust the capital budget for the Fair Street project, also reviewed in physical services. Again, we have some federal aid coming into this, and we're going to transfer some money out of the general fund to cover the entire cost. I guess this is $3,707,500. Federal aid in the amount of $2,966,000. Use of the general fund of $741,500. And then there's also additional federal aid of $404,800,000.
Now, Chairman,
Yep.
the first half of the budgetary is, like you said, is the 3.7 million. The 2.9 is the 80%. The 741,500 right now is the 20% local share. But if you recall from that other meeting, Deputy Commissioner Bellucci mentioned that there will be Marcicelli funds, which is up to 15%. So if and when we get that 15%, we'll just replenish the general fund, and our local share would only be 5%. But in order to conservatively do this budgetary, we have to put the 20%. And the Farmers Mills bridge project, and on the bottom half of that, that means that right now that project's not moving forward. So we're just defunding it.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one? Yes, Legislator Adenizio?
Yes, thank you. Why are we not moving forward with the Farmers Mills Bridge project, do you know?
That would be a DPW question.
Okay. Still needed, I'm saying, I'm just wondering why it doesn't do a lot for us.
If you look at the memo, Joe,
There's that concern.
after thorough evaluation and consideration of alternative immediate needs, the department feels that as if the Farmers Mill bridge project is not an immediate nor short-term concern.
This is just by New York State DOT. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? And zero fiscal impact for this Fair Street project, so it's a good deal going forward. I will make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5M is the approval of budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department. This is a grant award from New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, support technology purchases. This was also reviewed in Protective Services earlier this month. This is a grant in the amount of $119,411.51, which we're going to put into other equipment and computer equipment. Zero fiscal impact to the budget. So great work by the Sheriff's Department. Mike, is there anything I can add to that?
Just going off of the first Sergeant Keith, it's $67,855 for some Axon, I don't know how you pronounce that, but integrated camera systems, $13,800 for two LPRs, and the difference of $37,756 is for it was in regards to the CAD and RMS integration.
Okay. Any questions or comments? And great use of grant money by the Sheriff's Department, and we'll put it to good use, I'm sure. I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 5N is the approval of budgetary amendment for DPW, Peekskill Hollow Road, Peekskill Hollow Creek Culvert Rehab Project, using New York State DOT bridge and New York funds, also reviewed in fiscal services earlier this month. This is state aid in the amount of $1,840,000 to go to the Peekskill Hollow Road Creek Culvert.
100% state funded.
100% state funded is always good news. Questions or comments? Yes, Legislator Montgomery.
Probably with all of these kinds of projects, there is a lot of public concern about changes in traffic patterns and what it's going to do, and it's, a sensitive area. So again, I always request that, I know it's a DPW issue, but I have to put it on the record again, that they keep, usually the legislator and the district informed about the updates when it's going to start. I know it's available online, but it would be great if the legislators in the district could become aware of what's happening and when, so that we can talk to the public.
Absolutely, great point. Any other questions or comments? Legislator Nasrani?
We have a big project at the, on 311, and there is no ability to get onto 84 East or West, and it's causing a big traffic concern, and my constituents were very upset hearing it at the last minute, as did the town and me.
Okay. Fair enough. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I will make a motion to move this to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. 5O is the approval of budgetary amendment for planning the Maybrook Bikeway 2 Phase A project. This is to cover bids exceeding the anticipated costs. This was also reviewed in physical services earlier this month. Unfortunately, the costs have gone up a bit, and we're going to cover those costs using some federal aid and some use of the capital project reserve in the amount of $1,175,000, federal aid CARES Act $544,402. This is, I think, right on the border of my district and Paul Yonkey's district, but it is the bike path, and I think it's vital, in my opinion, to the bike path heading towards Connecticut. I think it's really important to be able to go from both sides, and you don't have to cut through the village of Brewster to go back onto the bike path. Certainly, there's a lot of people using that part, and it's an area that's sort of desolate going towards Connecticut. But fixing that bridge and allowing bike riders and people walking and jogging to go through directly, I think would be a great benefit to the village of Brewster, to the town of Southeastern, to Putnam County with this bike path that you can head straight towards Connecticut at the very least. So I'd love to see this project move forward, so we have some funding there. Hopefully this thing, which I understand could take 9 months, gets going quickly. Any questions or comments? It's a beautiful bridge right behind the dealership there. It's going to look great over the water, so I can't wait to see it happen. I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Item 6 is the approval of a fund transfer for the Health Department to purchase rabies medical supplies, also reviewed in personnel earlier this month in the amount of $17,000. So we're moving some money around to cover the cost. There's zero fiscal impact. And we should take note that there is an increase in rabies in Putnam County, and they do need some money to cover for some of these supplies. Open it up to any discussion, questions, or comments. Yes, Legislator.
Thank you. I
Indonesia.
just have a question on the people that need to receive the vaccines. Are they covered with their insurance if they go to the hospital or not? I'm just wondering,
I'm pretty sure this is uninsured people, but.
Yeah,
is that?
I can find out for you, but that sounds right.
So we don't really know how many people actively, how many families do have rabies, or have active rabies, we won't know. But are being treated though, so if this is the non-insured, I just wonder, maybe from that, we could get something? I'd like to know.
We did ask, and they did send us some information. It was,
Did they say the older people in Putnam?
Well, they would get that information. I mean, it's all got to be reported,
Right.
whether that's
To the
insurance
state.
paid or not.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, if, say, for example, if I got rabies and I went to my doctor would have to report that to the Department of Health. And they collect that information and report on it. And I can't say for sure, but they might be required, well, especially people who don't have insurance, to pay for their,
Yeah, I'm just wondering, the people that do have insurance,
it's any type of disease has to be reported to the health department, and then they do reports on it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering who are we paying for? That's my question.
I'll find out. Yep.
any other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Under the same issue or category, this is an approval of a fund transfer for the Health Department for tuberculosis lab analysis line, also reviewed in personnel, in the amount of $14,000 to cover the increase in that as well, as they identified 2 people here who have active TB. Questions or comments? Yes, Legislator Nesrino.
This is very frightening.
Yep.
We haven't seen that in a very long time where people have contracted TB. Did the health department, and I can't recall if there was a reason for the uptick in cases?
I think we asked that question, but we didn't really get an answer other than it's an increase.
Is it because people aren't vaccinated properly or tending to let people come here that?
I can't speak for the health department, but I would think that
It's
part of the problem.
important to know.
Yeah.
It's important to know because what the conversation that ensued over this being addressed previously is that it's highly, highly contagious. So this is, it's frightening that you be in a department store or a grocery store and contract TB just by standing next to someone, literally. So
It's
I'd like to find out more about the uptick and the reasons what's causing it. I mean, we can certainly speculate, we think we know, but we don't know.
No, we don't know. There was one case last year that we discussed at the Board of Health, and it was an individual who didn't have a permanent address here, who went to a clinic, and they were diagnosed with TB, and they did not want to be treated, and they didn't have a permanent address, and so it was up to the health department to try to track this person down, and I don't know whatever happened, but they slipped through the system without an address, and they don't want to be known. So, I mean, who knows? But at least these people that we're talking about here are being treated, and they do have a permanent address, but we don't know other people who are unhoused or migrants coming through the area. There's just, you can't track everybody. They don't want to be tracked, and that's a problem.
Well, fortunately, we have a good vaccine for this, and hopefully everybody puts it to good use. Any other questions or comments on this issue?
Going backwards instead of forward.
World we're living in right now.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. I will make a motion to move this to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Item number 8 is the approval of fund transfer for Health Department to cover 2 part-time temporary positions, also reviewed in personnel. This is in the amount of $10,000 to move some costs, to cover the cost, I should say. Again, zero fiscal impact. We are moving the money, so we have it within the budget. Anything to add to that?
It's just from the vacancy of the office assistant to cover this temp line.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Item number 9 is the approval of fund transfer for the Health Department to cover nursing overtime, also reviewed in personnel, in the amount of $10,000 to cover overtime because of some vacancies in nursing that we have here in Putnam County. Good news is we're moving the money, so we have it covered, zero fiscal impact. Question? Yes, Legislator Montgomery.
But the bad news is we're down 3 nurses, and I see the uptick in health consequences and the workload, and it's just, I'm very worried about the health department right now, and I think we see the result of hiring upper management and not hiring boots on the ground people, and I hope we can fix that in this budget season and offer better salaries for people who are with the public.
Okay. Legislator Sage.
I did just speak with Dr. McNish about this exact issue last week, and as Legislator Montgomery, you try to advocate for better salaries for these people. However, it is important to note that this is a national problem, and everyone is down nurses. Nurses is in great demand at this time, and working in the public health, especially as a specialized public health nurse, is even more difficult to hire. So I'm hoping that this is, that lots of kids are going to college and becoming nurses, and we can solve this problem soon. But I think that seems to be the ebb and the flow of the industry. Salaries go up and more people will go to school to do it. So I'm hoping this will work itself out soon.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Item number 10 is the approval of a fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department to cover full-time correction cooks overtime. This is, we're moving $11,898 from positions to cover the cost of this overtime. Same issue here. Thankfully, we have money in the budget, so it's zero fiscal impact. Questions or comments?
Sheriff, who's doing the cooking? We have people that are still there working overtime? What are we doing?
Yeah, we have 2 people doing the cooking. We had one out long-term illness, which necessitated this issue, and we were able to move the money.
So who's replacing the one guy or woman who's working, who's out for them?
The 2 full-time, and then we also went to our part-time. We were able to secure from OSR part-time cooks to help prepare the food.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Item number 11 is is approval for fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department to cover part-time corrections cook overtime. This is the same issue that we just spoke about, $10,240. Fortunately, we have money again in the budget to cover the cost. So the same exact issue. Any questions or comments? I'll make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to item number 12. It's the approval of a fund transfer for Department of Social Services to upgrade principal office assistant. This was also reviewed in personnel. We're upgrading the position and covering the costs with money that we can move over. Zero fiscal impact for this fiscal year. Open up any discussion or questions. I will make a motion to move it to the full. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Item number 13 is the approval of fund transfer for the District Attorney's Office, CLE training opportunities for ADAs. As you might know, these ADAs have to go through some training over the course of the year. It's in the amount of $6,000 that we're moving the money to cover the costs. Zero fiscal impact. This is just for signature, so it's not going to the full. Any questions or comments? Make a motion to sign. Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Item number 14 is just an FYI, the 2024 guardrail and property damage table that we have. Again, it's confidential, but thank you to Matt Bruno for putting this together for us and all the hard work he's doing. Just an FYI, anybody have a question or comment? Moving on to item number 15, this is also an FYI, this is the Hudson Valley Regional Council dues. Also reviewed in Economic Development earlier this month. I will open it up for Michael for a little bit more info, as I understand that we paid this in the past. In the past, I mean 2010.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, but it's back in front of us now.
And then Kathleen Abels presented not too long ago, and Legislator Goulman had asked if we could do a budgetary, but we have money currently in our dues line. So at this time, it's not warranted, so we could pay it from this specific account.
And we can do it without legislative approval. This is something that funded out of that account.
It's in the
books.
operating budget, but I think it was more of an FYI from.
Any reason why we haven't done it since 2010? Just,
They're the hard questions today.
what's that?
I presented it in 2019 with Carla here.
I don't know.
It's kind of embarrassing. It's like so much, they think of the hundreds of
2010,
thousands.
14 years ago. I mean,
Hundreds of thousands of dollars we've received with their support and grant money. They're a great resource. I don't know,
Yeah.
sorry. Can we create a line item in the budget? What is it? Are we doing that? This is not
It's not necessary from what I
for
understand.
this, but for the future.
We could put it in.
Can we, well, I mean, that's. like
Something to talk during the budget
Something to
season.
talk about during the budget season.
So that we know it will
Mhm.
happen.
Okay. Again, that was just an FYI. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to 16 is other business. Other business, no? Make a motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you.